You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 307 of Podketeers. This week, Mel and I talk about shows that we've been watching on Disney+, Disney's earnings call, and what plans are now in effect to reopen the parks. Remember that if you'd like to join the conversation and connect with us, you can search for Podketeers on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can also leave a comment on the blog post at podketeers.com/307. Now we're about to get this episode started, but before we do, I'd like to take a moment and thank the members of the FGP Squad, aka our podcast, Fairy Godparents. If you're not familiar with the FGP Squad, they're an awesome group of listeners that help us out with a monthly contribution via Patreon, and it's that support that helped make these episodes of Podketeers possible. For more info on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, head over to podketeers.com/FGP. And of course, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we'd like to send a huge thank you for their continued support. So, short intro this time, so let's do this. Here's episode 307 of Podketeers. Hey, by any chance, have you seen the new Pixar in Real Life, the Monsters Inc. one?
No, not yet.
So I don't know exactly how long it's been on, but I saw it pop up in the service today.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's basically the premise of the film. You know, they're trying to find a better energy source, and they laid it out in real life. But the way that it was executed, personally, I think it's like the weakest of all of the Pixar in real life.
Aww.
Like,
okay.
If I had to rate them, it's probably at the bottom of the list. There are much better ones.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it's like that with everybody else, so... Okay, I'll still watch it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not horrible, right? But if you put them all against each other...
Yeah.
And I had to rate them, it's going to be closer to the bottom. It's good. It's just not great for me personally. If you're a Monsters Incorporated fan, it probably ranks a lot higher for you than it does like other ones. But personally, it's one of the weaker ones.
All right.
So maybe one of these days we should come up with a list of how we would rate them. Because I think they might all be out by now. I'll have to do some research to see if there's any missing or if there's going to be any more. But if they're out, maybe the three of us should come up with our list of what we think is like the best one to the worst one.
And that'll be interesting because we have different ideas.
I know,
and
and that'll be the fun part, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really want to call it the worst one because they're not bad. Like, I need to find a different way to say that. Like, I don't want to sound all negative about it and stuff. Because,
least liked?
You know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out. The point is, it's out. You should take a look at it. Also, okay, look.
Yeah.
I kind of knew a little bit about prop culture.
Oh.
And I put it on my list. I put shop class on my list after Gavin recommended it. Prop culture after you had told me that it was coming to the service. So I was ready. Since our last recording, I started watching both of them. We'll start with shop class. Oh, man. It is so fun. I totally dig this show. And more importantly, my kids dig this show. They are so into it that they're asking me, do you have a hammer? Do you have a saw I can borrow? I'm like, oh, well, wait a second. You're 6. You shouldn't be using a saw.
Right.
I love watching them watch these shows because even when we watched Lego Masters not too long ago, as soon as the show was over, they wanted to start building and they kept making their own little challenges amongst themselves. And they kept saying like, well, I'm going for the golden brick and I'm this and this and we'll have mom and dad judge. And I thought, this is so cool. And so now watching a shop class, I'm getting the same vibe from them, and I can tell that it's sparking a little bit of like innovation and a little bit of imagination in them, and I just love that. I mean, it's a competition show, right? Like
Right.
Gavin said, people love competition shows. People are going to love a competition show that has Imagineering built right into the premise. But if part of what they were aiming for when they made this show was to help spark some creativity, oof, we're in. Like, it's working, right? My
Right.
kids are all over this.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I love it. And especially when you said that they mentioned the tools. I mean, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. It is on my list. It's something that's exciting because it'll, like you said, spark something and you'll want to do something. You'll be inspired to make something. So I am
Yeah.
so happy to hear that your boys are doing this. That's or that they have that curiosity.
And I've decided to not watch ahead because I want to be surprised along with them.
That's
Like, we
cool.
made it like an evening thing, like an evening family thing where we sit down and then we watch it and then we talk a little bit about the show after. I love that part of it, but there's a part of me that wants to go ahead and see what's coming up. But I almost feel like I'd be doing a disservice to both of the kids by doing that. So I'm having to hold myself back and watch it on a day-to-day basis along with them. Unfortunately, today we're missing it because, we're recording, but they understand. They said, okay, no problem. We'll watch it tomorrow. It's not a
Aw.
big deal, which is great. But man, oh, it's so good. And you know what the thing about it is that the things that they're tasked to do are not these horribly difficult things. Like, I'll give you an example. The very first episode that you watch, the premise is that there's three teams competing to build whatever they're tasked to do in a 3-day span. It's one shop teacher from somewhere in America and two students that excel in many different things. And it's not just students that excel in shop, but students that excel in robotics
Nice.
and like all sorts of things. Like, these kids are super smart. These are like the Imagineers of the future if they choose to pursue that career.
Oh
Okay.
man.
And like, what I really enjoy about it is, let's say my kids really do want to build something like this, right? I like the very first episode, they build a tiny library. For those that don't know what a tiny library is, these are little structures that people have begun to put together around in their neighborhoods that essentially is a box that may look like a tiny house, has some doors. People pop some books in there, and they normally have a sign that says, take a book, leave a book.
That's
And that
awesome.
way you're kind of sharing books with the rest of your neighborhood. It sparks some curiosity. It allows you to read something different all the time. And at times, if you see people around the area, I mean, right now it's a little different, obviously, because of social distancing. But in general, it does tend to bring people together to talk a little bit about the books they read and so on and so forth. I've seen these things on Instagram. Like, I follow people follow us. Quick shout out to Rick and his family.
Yay.
They recently put one of these together,
Nice.
for their neighborhood. And I just thought it was a super cool idea. And whether it was because they saw this show or not, I don't know. But like I was saying, the thing I like about it is that it's not these like crazy things. I mean, they do get more elaborate as the show goes on, right?
Right.
But some of these things are super easy to build. You don't need a lot of experience to put these things together. It does require a little, like, you gotta know how to use a hammer.
And that's
You gotta
good.
know how to use a saw,
Right.
and is it going to look fantastic your first time around? I mean, if you have some experience, maybe, but in general, they are things that most people can put together,
Yeah.
and that's what I really enjoy about this. So I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the episodes. Definitely looking forward to them renewing this show and making more of them once the social distancing aspect of this gets released, because obviously a lot of these shows that we're watching that are being released now were all recorded prior to the lockdown that's in effect in California,
Right.
across the nation, around the world. So Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more of this because it's just so well done. I love the energy that the majority of the kids bring to the show. And I love that they bring a guest in that specializes in whatever the project they're working on specializes in to kind of give them that extra push,
That's
and to
cool.
critique the things that they're doing. So, yeah, once you start watching it, we got to talk about it more because there are some really great
So
episodes.
not only are you able to build, but you're getting advice and wisdom from someone inside. That is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Imagineers that they have come on, I think, offer more advice, and it
Mhm.
might be because it's a like on a per project basis, but I feel like some of them are able to offer more advice than others
Mhm.
because of the type of thing that they're building. I they it might be set up that way like on purpose so that they don't give away too much on how to do something.
Mhm.
But like you said, it's really cool to see somebody that they bring in an Imagineer and they're like, oh well, I helped out with Rise of the Resistance and the XYZ attraction, and now I'm here judging these things that these children put together, and it's awesome. And it's not like a fake awesome. Like they are legit happy to
Oh,
be there. Okay,
that's even
that's the
better.
best part. That's the best part. So they did a really great job of choosing particular people to go and help out these kids. So super fun watch. If you have not seen Shop Class, I recommend it. It's such a fun show, and if you have kids, watch it with them. It might spark some creativity in them. So I'm so on board with this show, and I need to see more.
I need to see it now.
Yeah. Once we're done, go watch it.
Oh yeah,
I'll edit, you watch.
I will.
Now,
Yeah.
prop culture.
Ah.
Woo! Okay. I need to take a step back on this one because uh, over the last several years, we've had the opportunity to meet Disney collectors.
Mhm.
I've met somebody that owns like one of the old monorails that Bob Gurr built. They had it on display at Carrollwood. We last year or
I think it's two
a year and
years.
a half ago. Now it's 2 years,
I think
right?
it's
We
two.
met yeah, we met Richard
Mhm.
Kraft, who had that insanely huge collection that went up for auction. There's a vlog that we did of the day that we went to that. If you haven't checked it out, I'll put it in the blog post for the episode, podketeers.com/307, if you want to take a look. It was a super fun day. We saw old Disneyland
Oh
maps. We
yeah.
saw parts of old Disneyland attractions, original concept art. It was a surreal day for us. And I remember it was it was so weird because Gavin almost gravitated to all the John Hench
Yes.
like artwork. It was like a magnet. Like if you've
Yeah.
ever seen a cartoon where somebody like a cartoon character sniffs out a pie and they're
Mhm.
like floating in the air, that was Gavin towards the John Hench artwork. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out the vlog. It's gonna be in the blog post. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've had the opportunity to meet a lot of these collectors, but this show just takes it to a whole other level
Yeah.
because the appreciation not just shown by the collectors, like collecting is something that people do when something means a lot to them and they have the means to purchase something. And what something is, quote unquote, worth really differs from person to person,
Right.
right? Because let's say that somebody finds a huge neon Disneyland D. Maybe that's a bad example because people will know exactly what that is. But let's say they find like a piece of art by somebody that used to work at Disney Animation, and to them it's like it's just another drawing,
Right.
right? They might sell it for 5, 10, 15, $20. But to a hardcore Disney fan, that thing might be worth 400, 1,000, $10,000. Who knows?
Yeah.
The rarer the piece, obviously, the harder it is to get, and it's going to be worth more to a collector. Now, what I really like about this show is that it doesn't just highlight the collections. It highlights the people behind those props, who made them,
Yes.
how they made them, and in some cases, the emotional connection that they have to these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And watching some of them, when you told me, get the tissues ready, I had no idea what you were talking about.
Nope.
And then I started watching it, and from the first episode, they hit you with that
Yep.
right in the feels. And I'm thinking, I'm okay. I'm going to get through this. I'm okay.
I didn't expect to be so emotional about the first film that they showed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this is nuts. But honestly, how I took this show is, of course, you have the stories, you have everything that's touching, but it kind of gave me that magical fix that I've been missing, and it just like you just get this hug. It's weird. It's weird to describe, but it's something. It's a feel good type of thing that we need right now, like that kind of
Mm-hmm.
good magical feeling. But yeah, I mean, there's stories that aren't in books, and
Yeah.
that's what this show has. So it's like not only are you seeing the props, you're seeing the story, and then you learn something else that's connected to that. Oh my gosh, just fantastic. And also, I stopped after the second episode because I'm savoring this series. Like I'm
Oh,
trying
it's
not
so
to
good.
binge through. But yeah, it's so good. So good. Have you seen the second episode yet?
I finished the series.
Oh, jeez.
I finished the series. I totally understand what you're saying about savoring each episode,
Mhm.
but I feel that every one of them was so good that I couldn't wait to watch more. And what's really fantastic about it is that it's so well produced.
Mhm.
One of the things that this show does is the host, I forgot his name. It's um, Dan Lanigan, I believe is his name, and he's a collector, so he has his own pieces. You know, he talks about his personal collection when he goes to see different people, but he has this amazing, unprecedented access
Mhm.
to the Disney archives, the Disney studio, to different people in the Disney company.
Yeah.
And he's just like, can I borrow this so that I can take it to the first person that wore it or made it? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Bring it back when you're done with it. I'm like, what? What?
There was a
So,
point. There was a point where he had his gloves. He was taking care of everything, and then he was doing something else. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't stay to this one. Don't
oh,
touch the other
there's
one.
there's many moments like that, okay?
Yeah.
And I get why you stopped at episode 2 because it's the Tron episode.
Oh gosh,
right?
yeah.
I get it. But the next episode is Nightmare.
I know. I'm
And
saving.
if you think Tron got you, Nightmare is gonna floor you.
Ugh.
Okay? There's so many special moments in that episode. Special cameo by Jack. And I'm just
of
like,
course.
oh, it's so good. The whole thing is so good. The way that I can't say enough good things about it.
Right.
I think you described it really well when you said it's kind of that like magical hug that we need right now. And knowing that these stories that we've connected with all of our lives or in our childhood or whatever the case may be, you know, we tend to see award ceremonies for the actors, the digital effects artists now, for directors. Sometimes we see the wardrobe stuff, and sometimes we don't see them as part of the actual ceremonies, but there are awards given out to wardrobe and to makeup and to all these different categories that we tend to not see or make them this huge deal. I think over the last decade, it's become more prominent to see that because in general that has been seen more as an art form versus just another job on a set, right? But that wasn't the case before. Like before, it was just kind of like there was this huge team that worked on this, but the person in charge is the person that gets their name on the production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, there was acknowledgement, but not the type of acknowledgement that we see now. And social media obviously has brought those walls in closer to us, which allow us to connect with the people that build these things, that design these things. We see previews of them and little glimpses as they're working on them. And when you connect with a character, as like I'll just talk a little bit about the very first one. The first one was Mary Poppins. You know, Mary Poppins is a film that just connects with so many people on different levels, whether it's, you know, you felt like that when you were a kid or because you connect with the Mary Poppins character. Sometimes we read things and we learn things about Walt and the company that make us feel things other than what the film represents. Like when I first found out and read that when Richard Sherman and his brother Bob would come into Walt's office, and Walt would just say, you know, play it, and they immediately knew that he meant feed the birds. They would play it and sing it, and that Walt would just stare out the window and just think and just like absorb it, and it was kind of his moment of zen, right?
Yeah.
That gave me a connection to that song where it made me appreciate it on a totally different level that I never appreciated it before. Like that story we've heard because Richard Sherman has told that story. But there's so many other people behind the scenes that have stories like that we don't necessarily hear. And like you said, they're not published. They're not anywhere where you've heard them before. Maybe if you've gone to, you know, like a D23 Expo or any other type of convention style event where you heard somebody talk about it. You know, we heard like Tanya Norris talk about different things that she experienced when she was working on the Haunted Mansion. And for most people, like, you know Rowley, you know X, you know all these names like Yale Gracie, like the people that tend to be in all of the stories that you hear.
Right.
And unless you're a hardcore Disney nerd, you wouldn't know who Tanya was.
Yeah.
Right? But if you go to an event like the Haunted Mansion thing that we were so graciously invited to last year, or you got to see the Facebook live stream that they recently did, then you get a better understanding. You get to hear these stories of when they first worked on it. And that's kind of what this show brings to the table.
Yeah.
Like, it brings these additional stories. It brings, oh man, that Tron episode, like the visit that he has. You gotta watch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Prop culture, it's so good. Prop culture and the Imagineering story work so well hand in hand. Along with our idea of the Disneyland story and the Walt Disney story that we're going to be producing maybe this year or next year. I don't know. We'll see. But it's such a great show. I can't stop saying enough good things about it. So I know we talked about it, but now that I've had a chance to see it, Shop Class and Prop Culture, make them a part of your viewing experience this week on Disney Plus. You will not regret it if you've not had a chance to see them. Okay, a couple of other things that I want to recommend. If you have not had a chance to go to DisneyMagicMoments.com, there are tons of really cool things to do. The Disney Magic Moments hashtag is what Disney's currently using to show you different experiences, to do different virtual tours, to show you recipes. They've got all these little video series that they've done. When you go to the website, At Home with Olaf is there, Draw with Pixar, the Storytime series that they've been doing where they've had different actors and actresses read different bedtime stories. How to Draw Disney Animation, Marvel at Home. It's just a lot of really cool activities. On there was this really great article that I recommend that you take a look at. It was a National Geographic article written by Allison Ellis called How Star Wars Can Bring Science to Earthbound Children. And it was just a super fun sciencey read. And it talks about incorporating, obviously, Star Wars, their characters, into how you can kind of teach science to your kids and everything. And it just gave me several different ideas of what we can do here. And with Rise of Skywalker now available on the service, it kind of goes hand in hand. If you don't have Disney Plus, I believe that they offer a 7-day trial. We don't get a kickback or anything from Disney for advertising it, but if you're a Disney fan and don't have the service, take advantage of the 7-day free trial. Check it out. You can watch all the Star Wars movies or shop class, prop culture, whatever, we talk about. But it gives you something to do, and it's obviously a lot of really fun stuff, including a lot of stuff that's been in the Disney vault for a really long time. So much good stuff to watch. I can't believe it. This week especially, I've had the opportunity to watch a little bit more because, I talked about how my computer had an incident.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time kind of recovering things and reinstalling stuff and everything. So there's been times where I just kind of sit here and I just set up, my tablet and I just watch Disney Plus, and it's been great. I was so sad when my computer went down,
Yeah.
but it's been so good for my viewing pleasure.
This is awesome.
I can't even tell you. I don't know. I felt like the last several weeks, because of so many of the things that were happening, and family members being in health situations and stuff. I thought, man, my mental sanity is just taking a hit. Like I was concerned for myself.
Oh.
And this week, I feel has been the first week that I've had a break almost, and I kind of recharged a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You could hear it.
It's not all there, right? I
Right.
still have, I think, some stuff to take care of, but overall,
It's a good plus.
so much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plussing my mental sanity.
There you go.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about a couple of other things, primarily some stuff connected to the parks, because we're all itching to get back to the parks, in many ways. But I've also talked about how I personally don't know if I'm going to be ready to go back to the parks as soon as they open,
Right.
considering that there's still no way to prevent getting it. There's no, immunization or anything that you can take. With that said, we do know that the pandemic has hit the economy really hard. In general, everybody just wants to get back to normal, whether not just Disney parks wise, but they just want to move on with their life, right? After being indoors for 7 weeks, that first week or two, you're like, oh my God, I'm with my family. It's so great. And then week 3 hits and you're like, when do I go back?
Yeah.
Right?
Coffee.
And maybe not to that, not to that extent, but I'm just saying, there's some of you listening, you know who I'm talking about. So the point is that here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced that there was going to be this 4-step process to kind of reopening the economy, reopening the state. There's a coalition of several states that have all decided that they're going to guide their decisions with science, and that's fantastic. Social distancing has been working. Everybody that's been doing it, I applaud you. Well done. We're doing a great job. We're going to get through this, and we're almost to the finish line.
Here.
And to the finish line, I don't mean it's all fixed and ready. I mean we're getting ready to reopen the economy. That's a scary step.
Yeah.
And I will admit that is a super scary step. Last month, there was a formation of an 80-person task force to kind of build these recovery strategies that were going to help California kind of reopen, or all the surrounding states that are part of this coalition. And on that task force is Bob Iger. Now, Bob Iger, as you know, stepped down as CEO. He's executive chairman of the Disney company, and Bob Chapek was named the CEO of the company shortly before this pandemic shut down the state of California, shut down the parks, did all that stuff. Now, since then, Bob Iger has gone on to state that Disney has 2 priorities when it comes to reopening. 1, getting cast members back to work, and 2, making sure that guests have a positive experience when going back to the parks. And they want to make sure that there's a balance between those two things. And that's really important, right? Because making people feel safe and knowing that Disney's taking precautionary measures for us as guests to make sure that we're as safe as possible is going to play a huge role in how many people go back and how soon people go back. Obviously, there's other things that are going to play a huge part in that as well. And there's some stuff that's going on with like movie theaters and all that stuff that we'll probably talk about in next week's episode. But for the intents and purposes of the parks, Bob Iger had stated in a conference, he said that in order to achieve the balance that they're looking for, actually here, I have the quote right here. He said, in order to achieve this balance, we think a collection of protective measures are likely necessary. We stand ready to implement them when available and to do everything we can at the Walt Disney Company to restart our business under safe and reliable conditions. Now, there was news that Disney was going to possibly start screening people, taking temperatures and stuff as people were walking into the parks. I think there were some people taken aback by that. They weren't ready to hear something like that because they may feel that it's an invasion of privacy, or they may not feel comfortable with that happening. And I completely understand that. But reopening the economy and reopening the parks and making sure that we don't start another wave of people getting sick and possibly dying from this, things like that are going to be important for a while.
Right.
Because we don't know much about this other than the things we found out over the last 6 to 7 weeks. And as this gets studied over time, we're going to begin to know that there's other damage that's caused to people. There's other things that can happen. Like, we don't know if this thing causes other things to trigger in people's bodies.
Right.
And that's the scary part, that you may have tested positive, you may have recovered, but then later on you may develop something else because of it, and maybe that's contagious. And that's where kind of the X factor is here. That's where I think some people are being extra cautious. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis announced, Florida's taking a much different approach to this, and they're reopening things left and right. And the governor announced that Universal Orlando CEO John Sproul's and Walt Disney World President Josh D'Amaro have both joined his reopen task force. So because Florida is taking a much lighter approach to opening, I think it's more concerning for a lot of the cast members in Florida.
Yeah.
But one thing has changed since then, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Mm-hmm. This week, the Disney Company released their Q2 earnings for this year. And last year, during the same quarter, which is about January to March, Disney earned $1.5 billion from theme parks around the world. Okay, $1.5 billion. This year, because of everything that's going on, so far they've only earned $650 million.
Oh, wow.
With the parks being closed. Overall, they experienced a 58% loss, compared to last year. And so it's understandable how Disney and other companies are making all of these cutbacks, and they're doing certain things, taking extra measures to ensure, precautions to make sure that, they can maintain a company, basically. So one important thing that was mentioned during that call and was announced this week is that on May 11th, the Shanghai Disneyland Resort will be reopening its doors with a controlled capacity and new safety guidelines. Mm-hmm. Shanghai Disneyland is going to play a huge role in determining how the rest of the theme parks will open.
Yeah.
This, actually, I have a list of some of the safety measures that they're going to be putting in place. So let me just go through these.
Sure.
Limited and pulsed attendance with an advanced reservation and entry system. Guests are required to purchase admission tickets valid on a select day only, and annual pass holders must make a reservation prior to arrival. So this is similar to what we've seen with FlexPass,
Yeah.
but as far as Shanghai is concerned, once they reopen, it's for everyone. They're going to monitor how many people are in the parks to try to help with that distancing as they kind of get a pulse to see how things are working out for them. Controlled guest density. Capacity will be recommended and managed in queues, restaurants, ride vehicles, and other facilities. Queues will be structured and ride vehicles will be loaded to promote social distancing. Implementing required government health and prevention procedures. This includes temperature screening and the use of government-issued Shanghai Health QR code, a contact tracing and early detection system used in China. Additionally, guests must wear a mask during their visit except when dining. Increased sanitation and disinfection measures. Hand sanitizers will be available at queue entries and attraction exits. High-touch locations such as ride vehicles, handlebars, queue railings, and turnstiles will have increased sanitation. Training for cast members. Cast members will receive training on procedures with an emphasis on contactless guest interaction, cleaning, and social distancing, and will receive additional protective equipment, including masks. So Disney's taking this really seriously, and they're taking it seriously, obviously, for a lot of different reasons, but their main reason is because they want to reopen the parks, and that's fantastic.
Right.
I do applaud them for taking a lot of different measures, but I started thinking about this process about a week or so ago, and with the announcement of Shanghai Disney opening, I don't know if you remember that we had talked about this. I don't think it ever made it onto the podcast, but I remember us having a conversation about a possible app that was being developed in conjunction by Apple and Google that was supposed to help trace if you've been or come in contact with anybody that already had what I'm calling the villain instead of its name, so that you kind of know, like, were you exposed with somebody in your neighborhood, your family, whatever. And having something like that, yes, it does feel like a violation of privacy in many ways, and I can see the argument for that.
Yeah.
But something like that in the interim would be crucial in helping control the spread of this thing. And having something that, I don't know, maybe links to your Disney Parks app and kind of pre-screens you and says, I've already had it, or I've tested positive for the antibodies, I don't have it, and I'm not contagious. That, I think, is going to be key to really getting a lot more people in the park. Because if you've already had it and you've developed the antibodies, you can't pass it on to anybody else. Right? And those are the people that are going to be most protected, when you go to the parks. So in the meantime, while some kind of vaccination or something is created, those are the people that really are going to help the workforce and the economy continue as we take the next steps to kind of reopening everything completely. Now, the important thing about the antibodies, as far as I've read, if anybody has read different or you can point me in the right direction, as far as I know, they're still developing it. There isn't anything that's 100%, certain to show you that you have it. But as far as I know, you could have already had this, not had any symptoms, and your body could have already developed antibodies.
Yeah.
In a way, that's super scary, but also it gives, like me personally, it gives me so much hope, because it puts us in a situation that, like, our bodies will find a way to get us through this.
Yeah.
With the help of science, we can get through this. And so that's going to be a really important step, that if you can test and make sure that you have the antibodies, you're basically in a position where you can freely go to the park and not have to worry about this. And until those tests are readily available, I think there's still going to be people that are on the same boat as I am, where I don't want to go and expose myself or expose my wife or children to something that we're just uncertain about. But if you've already, had it, or you already developed the antibodies and somehow that shows up in your Disney Parks app, you don't need the screening.
Right.
Right? There's just like there's a line for the people that are almost pre-screened, which has that flag in the app, and there's people that don't have it that need to be screened as they're walking in. And so I think protective measures like that is really what's going to help us move forward with all of this. But I'm optimistic of what Shanghai is doing. Shanghai is super, super important, and whether or not those tests will be viable things that can be done in other parks, because if Shanghai goes well, then Disney World will reopen.
Oh, yeah.
Disney World reopening will also create a trickle-down effect that can be passed on to all of the other parks. So in the meantime, let's continue hanging on. Let's continue supporting each other. Let's continue doing whatever we can in order to get through this. There's light at the end of the tunnel where, there's a plan for us now. And little by little, those things will be implemented. I know it's hard. I know it's horrible. I know that many people are going crazy right now. But hang in there. Call somebody, play a game. Little things that we do here and there help us keep our sanity. And I think when we get through this, we'll be able to look back and realize that as a people, we're much stronger than we ever thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have differences. Yes, we have this and that. But when the country as a whole has needed to come together, we've seen it happen. And with some exceptions, I think is one of those times where we're seeing the majority, come through. And they're coming through in a way that is going to support the health of many other people and the people that are trying to take care of those people, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that we can go back to the parks. I'm looking forward to one day seeing Avengers Campus, one day riding Rise of the Resistance.
It'll happen.
I know. It'll be here sooner than we anticipate it.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat as you. I'm probably not going to return for a while. Safety reasons, that's it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm rooting for positive results. And actually just to all the cast members in Shanghai, stay safe. We're thinking of you guys. From one cast member to another, my heart's with you guys. Hang in there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if you guys want to chime in on this conversation, make sure to leave a comment in the blog post for the episode, podketeers.com/307. You can also join the conversation on any of our social networks, Facebook, Instagram, or on Twitter. Just search for Podketeers. We'd love to hear how you feel about this. And of course, not everybody is going to agree with what I'm saying. Not everybody is going to agree with how I feel about this. But it's not really about that. I think we can have a civil conversation about how things can reopen, how things can go on and move on. And, if there's anything that I'm missing or if there's anything that I got wrong, please let me know. If there's new resources available that, say anything different. I always try to stay on top of the things that are happening in order, just like for my mental sanity, obviously, and to find ways that I can keep myself and my family as safe as possible.
Right.
I try to relay that, but things are changing
Constantly.
so rapidly on a daily basis that we don't know what's what sometimes. Like half the time, I don't even know what day it is.
Same.
And if it wasn't for certain alarms that I have on my phone, like I wouldn't know. Like, we got to record a podcast episode today. Not having to get up and put pants on most of the time is really messing with my head.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So. Yeah, maybe that was TMI. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
You know what?
Hang in there.
If it gives someone a laugh, hey. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I mean, hang in there. Before you know it, it's all going to be, over. We're going to be able to get out, give each other a hug, and, it'll be good. It'll be nice to see people again in real life.
Yeah.
I love seeing a lot of you guys through videos and through, pictures and stuff, but real life is where it's at, man. Real
Right.
life. IRL, man. IRL. Okay, well, one last thing that I wanted to mention. We talked a little bit about the Disney Magic Moments website, and of course, we found out this week that with the success of the Disney Family Sing-Along, there's going to be a part 2.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have to say that I feel like the part 2 is going to be better than the first one.
Oh, I'm sure.
So not just for production reasons, right? But the first one I think was a test to see how well they could execute something like this. And overall, I kind of understood what Gavin was talking about like the production value and how some people struggle more than others. Like you could tell who had what in their homes and everything. But beyond that, I think everybody did a super fantastic job of trying to keep the energy up and really bringing it to the show the best way possible that they could. And the lineup was really fun. I think they had a really great lineup. But this second one is going to be happening on Mother's Day, again hosted by Ryan Seacrest. It's happening on Sunday, March 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So adjust your clocks accordingly for that. But let me read to you the list of songs and performers. And keep in mind that when this press release went out by Disney, there's it actually has a paragraph that says additional celebrities and performance details will be announced soon. Okay, so this list isn't final. Apparently there's going to be more. But look at the star power that's happening on this one, okay?
Okay.
We're going to get A Whole New World by Idina Menzel and Ben Platt.
Ooh.
We're going to get Almost There by Chloe and Haley and Anika Nani Rose. Hakuna Matata by Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner, featuring Donald Glover and Walter Russell III. Childish Gambino's going to be on.
Nice.
Part of Your World by Halsey.
All right.
Poor Unfortunate Souls by Rebel Wilson. And Rebel Wilson played Ursula in The Little Mermaid Live when they were at the Hollywood Bowl, and she absolutely killed it as Ursula. It was such a great performance. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. We're going to get Remember Me by Miguel.
Oh,
Step
cheers.
in Time and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious by Derek Huff, Julianne Hough, and Haley Erbert. Try Again by Shakira. I'm pretty sure I'm obligated to say it like that. Shakira. When I'm Older by Josh Gad. You'll Be in My Heart. Disney on Broadway stars Merle Dandridge, Heather Headley, Adam Jacobs, Cassie Levy, Kara Lindsay, Kevin Massey, and Josh Strickland. Okay?
Whoa!
A Broadway cast.
Whoa!
And Zero to Hero by Keke Palmer.
Ooh!
Okay? So
I already got chills.
I know. So this list is already a powerhouse on its own. And they're supposed to be announcing more.
That's so cool. Oh, man, that's
I'm
so
telling
cool.
you, I feel like this one is going to be overall better than the first one, my opinion, but it's probably because I think I like the lineup of music more in this one than in the first one. If you haven't had the opportunity to see the first one, it is available in the ABC app, and it's available on Disney Plus now. So if you have it and haven't watched it, have a watch. I think it was super fun. I'm looking forward to seeing this one. If you don't have the opportunity to watch it live on Sunday, within days it'll also be in the Disney Plus app available for you to watch, so you won't miss out on it. But yeah, just like before, I think they're going to be, the special is going to be used to raise awareness for Feeding America's network, and they're going to be raising money to help families and vulnerable members of the community that need help due to the pandemic. So, I mean, overall, great show for a great cause. I'm just looking forward to it. There's so many things on there that I feel are just gonna put a smile on my face, and I know that anybody that watches it is gonna feel the same.
Oh, yeah.
Mother's Day. That's how you should spend it, watching this. Well, no, not the whole day, just for this time. Unless you can't, then watch it in the app after. You know what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Or get bunny ears. Remember I complained about the bunny ears? I try to use a paper clip. Don't use a paper clip. It's not going to work. Maybe some aluminum foil. I don't know what you have. But in general, if you have bunny ears, you should be able to watch it for free. Just look for your local ABC affiliate wherever you are in America. Or if you're in the world, maybe wait for the Disney Plus app to have it. I don't know. I'm getting a little too excited about it. All right. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. There's just a lot of good stuff. I think there was a lot to digest, especially with Shanghai Disneyland reopening its doors this upcoming week. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. We're gonna keep an eye on the changes that happen at Walt Disney World. Obviously, with a lot of the things changing in Florida the way that they are, we're gonna keep an eye on things happening here in California. And like I said, if you have something you'd like to share, please join the conversation on any of our social networks. And before we end the episode, obviously, I do want to thank all of the members of the FGP Squad for all of their support. I constantly have conversations with members of the FGP Squad, and I have to say that I appreciate each of you, not just for the support that you give the podcast, but also because many times you send me messages where you tell me that we bring a smile to your face, but honestly, you have no idea how much your comments bring a smile to my face and to the team's face. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you. Thank you for all of your support. If you're new to the podcast, you don't know what the FGP Squad is, they're a group of listeners that support us with a contribution via Patreon. And if you want more information on how you can become a part of the FGP Squad, you can go over to podketeers.com/FGP for more information. And just thank you to all of you, because you guys are just awesome. So, anything to add, Mel, before we wrap up for today?
Oh, one little tidbit.
Yeah.
So, what happens on the 9th? On May the 9th?
I don't know. I don't have a clever Star Wars pun.
No. Oh, no. Hatbox Ghost Day.
Oh, Hatbox Ghost Day.
I was like, no.
I was like, well, let's see. There was May the 4th be with you. There's Revenge of the 5th. Like, I don't know. What's happening on the 9th? See, I don't know what's what anymore.
I just looked down at the calendar. I'm like, oh,
well,
it's coming up.
Look, in true Podketeers tradition, we're going to be posting, we're going to be celebrating Hatbox Ghost Day on that day because, quite frankly, we love the Hatbox Ghost. That's just how we roll. And the day that it came back during the 60th anniversary was one of the coolest days ever in our lives. I remember that day I rode the attraction many times with Gavin. I rode, several times with different members of the FGP Squad, and it was great.
That was
just
magical.
Such a fun day. For months prior to that, we saw the boarded up wall and, the little bat stanchions that were painted on there. And, oh, so good. So good. Yeah, I remember. You know what? I'm going to find some pictures of that and I'll post it.
There you go.
I'll post that, yeah. I miss Hattie.
Me too.
I miss Hattie. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye.